Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 201, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. My name is Zachy Hassan. I am roasting on the hottest day of the year here in Northern California. How are you doing, Brian Hall?
Same, actually. I turn off the air conditioning for primo recording production value, and it is quite hot today.
So by the end of this 90 minutes, you will be a puddle of goo.
Yeah. And then I'll just sort of, slither over and switch off the microphone and turn the AC back on.
Just a puddle of goo with like two blinking cartoon eyes.
Right. They make xylophone noises. Yeah, exactly. Blink, blink.
What have you been up to? It's been a couple weeks since we did our last regular show.
Yeah,
what have you watched other than Indiana Jones?
Indeed.
The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
I know.
Twice.
Not like a ton. I haven't been watching a ton of movies lately, funny enough. I mean, I'd mentioned Pink Panther recently, and that was cool because people had reached out and said that they had recently rewatched them.
So did you
also,
finish all of them?
No, I still have one left. One left. And then we're going to do the Steve Martin ones just to see them and kind of do the whole journey.
So one left being the Roberto Benigni one?
No, the Peter Sellers. Oh, I probably won't watch the Roberto Benigni one if I'm being honest.
Are you going to tap out once Sellers is not part of the mix?
Yeah, I'm saying this based on a conversation we had, but it was one more for certain with Sellers, and then there's one where I think they had made it after he had passed.
Correct. Well, two.
And they incorporated footage. Oh, they did two of them.
They did two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One with like Peter Sellers outtakes, and then they did the one with Ted Wass where he's not. It's not even Inspector Clouseau. It's like Jerry Dinkelman or whatever. I don't know. I just made that up, but it's
Dinkelman.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll probably forego that one, but. Yeah, but it's been sort of like the TV. I've been watching like binging shows. I started Psych, actually. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but my girlfriend and I started watching Psych. Just wanted something kind of easy and bingeable in the evenings. And it's just one of those shows, like I was aware of it, but it was never really on my radar or something I would stop on. But I find it like pretty delightful. You watched it, right?
You may not remember. I told you about it on this show a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Where I was like, it's a perfect show to kind of have on while you're cleaning and stuff. And yeah, it is the archetypal USA detective show.
Yeah, which I never had any
USA Network.
USA, yeah, like it's got that really poppy, colorful look. I don't know. I just never seemed like my cup of tea, but like it's totally fun. And it's now when we're not sure what to watch, I'm kind of like, hey, let's put on Psych. So it's very easy to watch and it's very light. Yeah, it goes down easy for sure. And it's a lot of fun. Those guys have a lot of chemistry and it's.
And I've been continuing my ER.
Oh, okay. Where are you at now? What season?
I'm like halfway through the third season.
Oh wow, okay, that's fine. I'm halfway through the third season of Psych.
There you go. Well, you will finish sooner than I because my intention is to do all 15 seasons. Let's see if that happens.
Okay, 15. Hot damn. So are they, what do they start? Are they like 24, 22?
Yeah, I think...
back when TV used to be like that?
Each season's like 22 episodes. Mm-hmm. But I've been enjoying it.
It's great. Good. So what are you seeing? What are like the trends or the patterns? Or are there season arcs? Or is it all procedural? Or what kept it on TV for so long? Can you see the secret sauce as you're looking at more seasons now?
Well, I think what helped, and certainly in those initial goings, is you had a perfect marriage of concept and cast. This is one of those things where every single person in the main cast was compelling. Mm-hmm. You wanted to follow every one of their storylines.
Right.
And it helps that at the time, this is one of those things where ER was ahead of its time, technically, thematically, and in narrative construction. And so now here we are, this many years later. You watch it, you're like, well, it feels very current.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because I've mentioned either on this show or certainly in the Nostalgia Theater show the fact that like NYPD Blue, which started the year before ER, and it lasted 12 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That was an absolute phenomenon when it first started, when it came out the chute, right?
Yeah, it was groundbreaking.
It really was. And it was ubiquitous throughout the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are, 15 years removed from its final episode, 16 years at this point, and nobody really talks about NYPD Blue.
Yeah, I doubt if you mentioned it to some people, they'd even know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet, ER, kids today are at least aware of it.
Really?
Yeah, just certainly anecdotally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was looking at like binge watch statistics, and it's a huge success for Hulu.
Man, can you imagine making a show and getting like 8, let alone 15 seasons, and then having it get this second life in the streaming age? Like, what a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is itself, like I would say ER represents the birth of peak TV.
Mm-hmm.
Which we are now in the midst of.
Yeah, and that's funny too, because I remember growing up, I mean, I always liked TV, but there was a definite distinction between TV and movies. Like, movies were cinematic and TV was TV.
Right. I mean, to that point, Brian, the fact is, I think it's the second season, Tarantino directed an episode.
I remember that.
And he's just like, so this is just after Pulp Fiction.
Right.
So he's like, I feel like doing ER.
Right.
I
remember that stunt. That is so funny. And that's only second season, huh?
Second season, yeah. And they did a live episode, I want to say it was in the 4th year.
Oh, wow.
Where the whole episode was staged as if there's a documentary crew filming the ER, but it went out live.
Huh.
Yeah. It's also, this is random, but I was doing a little reading and talking about how everyone in the cast, when the show first started, became a phenomenon, and George Clooney was one of the guys who he had been kicking around forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had been doing a lot of TV, and he, at the time, he was offered the lead in like a private detective type show.
Oh, okay, like Steal Him Away.
Well, essentially, he had a choice about what to do.
Oh, between ER and okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant once he was on ER. All right,
No. He like before ER.
Right.
And he was like, no, I want to do this, where I'd be like this, just one of an ensemble.
Mm-hmm. Because
he had done enough bad TV at that point that he right away recognized, no, this is something different. So the show comes out, becomes a smash, and he basically, George Clooney, pulls everybody together. He's like, listen, this show is going to be different in that we're all going to be nice to each other. We're going to have fun. We're going to show up. We're going to do the job. We're not going to be assholes. And everybody pretty much was like, okay. And you hear stories like that, and you're like, that's pretty cool,
That is cool. Yeah. And why not?
Yeah.
Why not make life easier for everyone?
One thing that I've found, and this is something I've talked about in my classes as well, is the sort of the general positivity or negativity on a production, whether TV or film, tends to sort of emanate outward from the leading man or leading woman. If they are sort of negative and just not happy to be there, then sort of that tends to be the energy of everyone, and vice versa.
Yeah. Right, no doubt.
I kind of love that Clooney is like, having been on enough of those sets by that time of his life, was like, look, we got something really good here. Let's not screw this up.
Yeah, and it's cool that he could be a guy who could set that pace for everybody. Because you can imagine, if you're like the sort of the junior and you're like, all right, guys, let's have a good show, and everyone's like, all right.
Right.
But he took that time and time in the trenches he's had and that wisdom, and yeah, apparently there you go. The results are on the, I was gonna say on the page, but they're on the streaming services.
There you go. I talked about NYPD Blue earlier, and I mean that's always the example I think of because, of course, when that show started, David Caruso just shot up like a rocket.
Right.
And then he was like, when it came time for season 2, he's like, "Give me all the money," right?
right.
And they're like, "Bye," you know. But I remember an interview that Gordon Clapp gave, who was one of the ensemble members on that show during the second season. And, you know, David Caruso leaves and he's replaced by Jimmy Smits. And that's what Gordon Clapp said. He's like, it was palpable how the energy completely shifted when Jimmy came on.
Interesting. Wow.
You know, and you hear about this enough times that I do believe that's the case, because obviously the lead actors, you know, so much of the production revolves around them, and they're called on to put in, you know, really kind of ridiculous hours.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they are making that displeasure, you know, apparent.
Yep.
It's not fun for anybody. And you've been on enough sets where I'm sure you can attest to what a pleasant set is like and what maybe not so pleasant set is like.
Yeah, and you know, something I didn't realize until I started working on sets was that, I don't know that this is always the case, but in a lot of circumstances, and I think all the ones I've had, it's on the lead, you know, actor or actress. Well, it's not on them, but they typically take it upon themselves to treat the crew. Like, it'll be like, oh, the In-N-Out truck is here, and, you know, Eric Bana paid for it. You know, like or like when you know, a movie wraps, there's like a gift that everyone gets, and they're like, oh yeah, Tom Hanks got everybody you know, like a stopwatch or something. You know what I mean? It's
right.
like, and I was like, oh wow, like I just thought that was interesting that, like, were you ever to become some sort of like lead actor, like, you know, in the fantasies everyone has, it's like, oh, there's like all these other things that go along with it, where it's like you sort of, like you said, I mean, you become sort of this de facto leader of sorts, and then you also sort of have to be sort of thoughtful and figure out how to, you know, if you're working long hours, you get a taco truck for the night, and everyone's like, hey, cool, thanks, man. You know, and
you know, I remember reading about Scott Bakula on this was on the Star Trek show that he was the lead on.
Right.
And this is what the other actors have talked about, because they talked about how, you know, by then Scott Bakula was a very veteran actor, and you had a bunch of young, pretty much people, this is their first big high profile gig, and they talked about watching Scott Bakula and how he conducted himself with not merely his fellow actors but the crew, and how every night when they would wrap, he would shake all the crew members' hand. He would go around and shake everybody's hand.
Yeah.
And he would help them wrap up.
See, that's so cool, because I mean, I know there's actors have different things to focus on. The grips have their own things to focus on, but you really think about it, you are all in that together, and that, like you said, they're horrifying hours, you know, and like you are a team, and so when someone does that, I mean, man, respect.
Yeah, and the cool thing is these other actors talked about how seeing that at that stage of their careers, they realize, oh, okay, this is how I'm supposed to act. And then they carry that forward, you know?
That's cool. Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah. So anyway, I've been having fun with the ER.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That seems like one that I should just sort of even dip my toe back into, and sort of... I'm sure it'd bring back a lot of nostalgia, but also I'm sure I would enjoy it.
The nostalgia is a big thing. You know, I talked last time about how I've been enjoying seeing all the Chicago, you know, landmarks and whatnot. And it's funny because my wife, because I'll be like, oh, I remember that. Oh, hey, if you go down there, there's this. And she's like, wow, you're really missing Chicago. And I was like, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing that Chicago. Mm-hmm. The Chicago of the mid-90s.
Absolutely.
Like that. Absolutely. That was my Chicago. I don't, you know... It doesn't look like that anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I mean, you have gone back recently, right? Or in recent years. And I thought I was going to feel a little bit more of an outsider than I did. I was surprised. I was like, oh, wow, this feels nice again. Yeah. But I absolutely agree. I mean, the Chicago, I remember, speaking of The Last Dance,
yes,
which we're going to talk about here, I remember Grant Park and like the celebrations after the championship wins, and, you know, the taste of Chicago. And I don't know exactly what it's like now, you know, but I certainly have a lot of love for how it was.
Well, so did you finish The Last Dance?
I did. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I started it and it was just like, oh, it ends tonight. I just don't want this to end. Absolutely loved it.
You know what's funny is I tweeted this a couple weeks ago. I'm like, Last Dance is the best thing I've seen this year, and it's like not even close.
Yeah, and I know part of that is like my personal sort of history and whatever tied into it, but I mean, it truly transported me and reminded me of a time and gave me a new angle on it. And I've seen some, I wouldn't even call it criticisms, but awareness that it's like, look, this isn't some sort of deep dive. You know, Jordan's company produced this thing, and as many warts as they exposed from him, I mean, obviously he had some sort of approval of it. And
yeah, it's a 10-hour love letter to Michael Jordan produced by Michael Jordan.
Right.
And even knowing all that, I'm like, find a vein and just plug it in.
Absolutely. But I also will give them credit that I didn't think it was that absurd of a puff piece for him or anything.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought, they did a good, they even addressed those whole rumors about him really being suspended when he was playing for the White Sox, which I actually don't even remember that from the 90s. I remember that being later, someone presenting that to me and me going, oh, that totally makes sense. So, I mean, it was what it was, but I actually thought, those sort of little things aside, like I thought it was actually a pretty great, I mean, you couldn't get into everybody, but I was happy that it also went into other players and, Tony Kukoc and all those people.
Kukoc. I was always a big Kukoc fan.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, and all the, it's cool seeing all the stuff in the locker room. And I mean, honestly, it was crazy seeing Jordan behave the way that he behaved in the 90s. We talked about this already, but I mean, he was like Bugs Bunny's best friend, and like I want to be like Mike, and he was completely polished and like pristine.
Yes.
And you would hear like, oh yeah, he's really tough and aggressive. You're like, yeah, I bet he is. I bet he encourages everyone, and they share Gatorade, and then in later years, we've seen more glimpses of it, but then actually having footage from the era and not just stories from people who are like, oh, damn. And he's like really giving Scott Burrell a hard time.
Yeah.
Calling him names I won't repeat here. And like, so I was like, wow, like I feel like I'm seeing something that I know from a different angle. And it was very intriguing and enjoyable to watch.
And it is a really in-depth time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we said this when we talked about it before. I mean, I personally, once the dynasty ended, I stopped following basketball to the same extent.
And, kind of me too.
And so for me, having this really deep dive into my era, I loved being able to share that with my kids, and they loved this series. I mean, they were like, don't watch it without us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
It was really satisfying. I mean, I assumed it would do well, but it was really satisfying to see that, I mean, it did really well.
Oh, yeah.
The numbers and just seeing it memed and, all the articles written about it the next day. It was really cool to know that was sort of a moment. We were all, I guess, we all were locked inside, but
had nowhere to go. So
yeah, it was fun to see that so many people were taking the journey together.
Yeah, and I think now the whole thing's going to be on Netflix at some point. I mean, it's like a Netflix co-production, right?
Right, which I guess currently outside of the United States, it is on Netflix.
Okay.
Like it debuted on Netflix while we were watching it on ESPN.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I assume at some point then.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a great binge watch for people.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And even as it was wrapping up, I was like, I am absolutely going to go through this thing again sometime.
So that's, one thing I will say is I wish the documentary would have at least mentioned the fact that Jordan came back like 2 years later.
To the Wizards?
Yeah, like I feel like, because it does, as far as the documentary is concerned, storybook ending, tie a bow around it, that's it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I mean, he did, right. he did do that other thing,
Yeah. Which it could have been like that ending of the Lord of the Flies Simpsons episode where the narrator is like, and then the kids were rescued by, I don't know. Let's say Mo. And then Jordan played for a couple years in the Wizards, and anyway.
Which, that too, when you think about it, like, the fact that he could not stop himself from getting back on the hardwood.
Absolutely. Well, even at the end of the series where he was like, look, if they had offered me another year, not only did he say he would have taken it, and it eats him up, the idea that they could have done it again, but he was like, everybody would take it, even Pippen. I'm sure convincing maybe, but everybody would have taken it. And it's just kind of fascinating. He still thinks about it.
You know, that too, I was reading about how Scottie Pippen is not thrilled with how he's portrayed in this documentary. And
yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's a few spots there where it goes into sort of, certain choices Scotty made.
Yeah.
But I think he comes off pretty well. I don't know. He comes off very self-effacing, very humble. Jordan's literally like, you can't say Michael Jordan without saying Scottie Pippen.
Yeah. I can understand that because maybe he's not used to the examination to the degree that Michael is, or Michael is just like, I literally could care less what you say about me. You know what I mean? So maybe seeing some of his blemishes magnified, he doesn't appreciate or something, or I don't know. But he's certainly set up as, exactly. There's no Jordan without Pippen. And, it's not me. I don't know how I would feel. But I thought, personally, watching it, I still love Scottie Pippen. So
yeah. And Steve Kerr, by the way, he's the coach of the Warriors. Mm-hmm. So that, like, my boys are like, oh, yeah, that's Steve Kerr, because they follow the Warriors. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, did you know he played basketball before? No, wow, that's like they're like, this is the Steve Kerr story,
That's so funny. And see, that was like when I was seeing Phil Jackson play.
Yeah, right.
In the I was like, what? That's weird. but yeah.
So it's a good one, folks. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Although, based on the numbers, I would assume a big chunk of the people listening have already watched it.
Yep.
Moving on. Hey, Brian, we got some listener letters here.
Oh, great. And
just starting things off, we have people commenting on our Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull commentary track. I feel like it was like a group therapy session, even more than a commentary track.
Yeah. I enjoyed it though. I'm glad we did it.
We worked through some stuff.
Yeah.
while talking through that movie. So this is from Tyler Kloster on Facebook. He says, listen to this last night while watching along with the movie, and I think it's one of you guys' best commentaries. It was pretty critical of the movie, of course, but also pretty funny about it, and also clearly comes from two guys who respect and revere the filmmakers, not to mention the title characters.
Man, I really appreciate that. Truly, because I was kind of nervous doing it. Like, I feel like when it's a movie that I'm just not going to gush over the whole time, I feel like I need to actually have something to say. Yeah. And I really did want to respect the film because having revisited it after 12 years, I was like, okay, look, like this movie's no slouch. Like, this is an impressive blockbuster, undertaking. I just feel in this series, it's disappointing for these reasons and whatever. And so hearing that makes me feel like what we said, we said it in a way that was, communicated clearly and that it was difficult. And like I said, I was a little nervous about it. So that makes me really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Well, and Tyler goes on, he says, the scene with the series of waterfalls kind of makes me wish they had just gone full sideshow Bob stepping on rakes and pushed it as long as possible until they fall in like 3 miles down waterfalls.
Right.
Ah! Ah! Ah!
Someone should make that cut on YouTube.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
Got another message here. This is from James Reed from the UK, and he says, thanks so much for your recent Indiana Jones commentary. As always, I really enjoyed it, and to be honest, I'm entirely with you. I was bitterly disappointed with the movie when I first saw it, being a lifelong fan of the series for all the reasons you mentioned. I think for me the big letdown was that the story was weak and there was so little that made sense, especially compared with the previous outings. He then goes on, he says, I wonder if you've come across the Lucasfilm point-and-click adventure games featuring Indiana Jones, and specifically Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. Now, have you heard of that, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis?
I feel like I know it only as a thing where it's like, Drew Struzan did the art for this video game. kind of a thing. Like I haven't played it. Have you?
I did, yeah. So this came out in the early to mid 90s. And no, it would have been like the early 90s, and it was it was like the first new indie adventure after The Last Crusade.
Oh, I see.
Not including the television show. And it was a video game, and they also made a comic book series out of it from Dark Horse.
Oh, wow.
And it's a great indie adventure. And I mean, it was, I don't know if you remember King's Quest from like the 80s.
Yeah, kind of.
Vaguely. Or like Prince of Persia was similar to that, the video game.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So this was like the Prince of Persia version, of Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Or vice versa. And God, I had a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure I could go on YouTube and find like some examples of the gameplay, and you've got like the MIDI version of the theme,
Yeah.
Yeah, that just him talking about that just took me back. I have a lot of fond memories of playing that game back when I first got my first like Windows 95 computer.
Oh, yeah, that was such a big deal, wasn't it? But yeah, no, I was even thinking that the other day. I mean, with Uncharted being as great, I've spoken out before. Video games now are at a point where the stories are so good, the characters are so interesting, the scripts are so good, the graphics are so great. Man, I would be totally fine if Indiana Jones 5 was a really compelling video game.
You kind of wonder why. I know that they've done some recent games that weren't very good.
Yeah, movie licenses are always weird. Sometimes they feel a little rushed, or they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna make a thing because the movie's coming out," and they're a little. But I mean, recently that Spider-Man game was just so
that's next level,
friggin' good. Yeah, like I would just love like a Uncharted. It's so weird to say Uncharted style because Uncharted is basically Indiana Jones, but I would love like an Uncharted type game of Indiana Jones.
You know what's funny though is there's an Avengers PlayStation game coming out,
right?
And I don't know if you've seen some of the gameplay from it. Or like the cutscenes. Yeah. And it's very funny because it's Avengers, but it's not MCU. So it's like Spaceballs, stunt doubles.
It's exactly, yes.
Right?
It's, yeah. I love the idea, and if they're really trying to construct an awesome game, I'm into it. But like, it's just impossible not to feel weird. Like seeing, like Black Widow not look like Scarlett Johansson, right. Chris Hemsworth, Thor, and all. Yeah, that's the perfect analogy.
Yeah, that's coming, I think, it's supposed to be this summer, I think, right? Or the fall, something like that.
I feel like it keeps getting pushed. I'm not sure at what point where it's at now.
Yeah, I had pre-ordered it, and I just forgot about it.
Right.
Anyway, let's take a short break, and then I can check Amazon and see where my pre-order is at for the Avengers game. And we're back, and hey, Christopher Nolan may be back soon.
Right.
We don't know yet.
Remains to be seen, but if he has his way, come mid-July, he'll be back.
If he has his druthers, we'll all be tenanting together.
Right.
I don't know if that phrase, it's like you've been incepted, like that became
right
a thing for a little while. I don't know. Tenet is one of those movies where in grand Christopher Nolan tradition, the trailers gave nothing away.
Mm-hmm.
Until this latest trailer, which I got to be honest, I regret watching.
It's still I understand that, but it was just enough. I think the first one was so mysterious. Like the only thing we get is like a reverse car flipping over.
Yes.
And that is truly enough. Like, I'm going to show up and I'm excited for this regardless. But there were a couple things that were revealed in this trailer that I was like, ooh, cool. Like, I still don't understand it. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. But it just gives you just a little bit more.
Well, let's reveal some of what was revealed to you, to the audience.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too. Use it carefully.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
I'm not saying Armageddon here.
No. Something worse.
So one thing I'll say about Christopher Nolan movies is when you think about it, what's being sold is less the concept than a feeling.
Yeah, well put.
Right? Like, certainly ever since Inception, like you don't even have to put Christopher Nolan's name in the trailer to know it's a Christopher Nolan movie.
I mean, right down to the audio. Mm-hmm. Like, there's even just like the dialogue. There's something that sounds almost like that's the actual dialogue, and it hasn't been treated yet, right? And it's just,
right.
But there's something really intriguing about that, and sort of like it makes you lean in.
So,
I don't know.
So what do you think about this new trailer?
I'm into it. I mean, obviously, there's some sort of, I guess, well, from what we can try to gather ourselves, some sort of Inception-like program or grouping of people that understand things don't have to be the way that we understand them. And I mean, just mild spoiler, I suppose, but nothing that wasn't in the trailer. But I love the idea of when the bullets were going back in the gun, and he's like, thinks about it, it's like being reversed. He's like, no, you're catching them. I'm like, what? I'm like, just, yeah, like, let's do this. Let's go. Like, I'm so ready for this.
You've just been tenanted.
Yeah, I suppose. But also, you know, I love the whole thing too about the airplane crashing the airplane, which apparently there was, you know, some news story recently that said, you know, that wasn't a miniature or an effect. They're like, yeah, he bought a 747, blew it up. Like, cool.
As one does on occasion.
Right. What about you?
Well, I mean, I'm down, of course.
Yes.
You know, I mean, but I said it last time. Like, first of all, at this point, I will be very surprised if it actually comes out to theaters when it's supposed to.
Yeah, and I think the reason I agree with you, or we're probably on the same page, is, look, I get they want this to happen, and this is like a thing they think can kickstart theaters back into existence after all of this. However, you may not have your New York and Los Angeles market open, which accounts for a huge percentage of domestic gross. And it's just, I mean, if you're looking to make your money back, you know, on a movie that costs over $200 million, it just might not be the thing to do.
Although, to be fair, Disney is planning to reopen their parks in mid-July.
I saw that. Well, Shanghai Disney is open, right?
Yes.
And I think they're only allowing about 30% of people in, or park capacity in, and you have to get a reservation ahead of time, so you can't come in without a reservation. And there's pictures all over the internet where they have little boxes that you're supposed to stand in for the lines, and it seems to be working for them. So I don't know.
So you know, if that goes well, you could see a scenario where theaters. The difference is theater. I mean, you're in like an enclosed room where air is circulating.
Correct, and as I understand it, obviously it's not going to be full capacity, and they will be installing shields as well. Like, you will be somewhat boxed in, despite the air above you, like you say, being like all open air.
This seems like a lot of effort.
When you think about it too, and this is not a secret, but theaters make most of their money from concessions, right?
Right.
And I was listening to another podcast / filmcast, and one of the guys on there, Jeff Kanata, said he used to work at a movie theater, and he was like, now thinking of it in this current context, he's like, I was like this goofy teenage kid. He's like, look, I wash my hands, but I was this kid, and I would stick my hand with like a metal shovel into popcorn, and put it into boxes for people, and then someone would hand me a broom, and I'd sweep, and then someone would say, hey, give me a hand, and I'd scoop more popcorn and dig my hand into and I'm like, yeah. Like, that's kind of messed up. I mean, I never thought or cared about it before, but so anyway, my point being, I mean, concessions are a huge part of a theater's, money intake. So it's like, is anyone going to want to buy a hot dog at a theater where everyone's wearing masks? And, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot
Well,
to consider.
I-
But
the-
I'm eager. I'm eager for it.
There was I'm sure you saw this. There was a survey released a couple days ago where 70% of respondents said they'd rather watch at home, even if
Yeah.
theaters reopen.
I did see that. Yeah.
And I think that says something about obviously the convenience factor, but also the fact that home viewing options in terms of technology are more affordable and pretty good.
Yeah.
So if you can
Yeah.
watch on a big 4K TV, it feels comparable to the theatrical experience.
I mean, look, if Tenet was released digitally for even $30, actually I shouldn't put this in their heads, but
No.
rent it for $20 to $25 or something, I would absolutely do that.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you don't have to worry about putting it in their heads because it's already in there. What is
Right.
what is the price point?
Right.
Because they've had success already with friggin' Trolls
Right.
and Scoob.
I love your disdain for Trolls. It's right.
Yeah, it's friggin' Trolls.
Right. Right.
Right, and those were 24-hour rentals for $20. Something
Right.
like Tenet. Guess what? If they were to charge $50,
Right.
people would pay it.
Yeah. I probably would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you would invite 10 people over.
Yeah, which I guess shouldn't necessarily do, but yes,
That's what's going to happen.
it's gonna happen. Yeah.
And so this stuff is gonna. I don't know. It's a slippery slope because you can see a scenario where, I don't know. Once it's released via streaming, the capacity to bootleg is supercharged.
Right.
So that's a genie that, as much as the theater companies don't want, the studios don't want either.
Right, and you also have completely eliminated its chances of being no, not completely, but you have mostly killed its chances of being released theatrically and having any sort of business aside from diehards.
Yeah.
Like you and I and our listeners, I'm sure, who would be like, yeah, no, I would go see it again after having seen it at home. If they showed it in an IMAX screen, I would turn up, right? But I doubt that's a high percentage.
Yeah. So we'll see. Now, I do find it amusing that there's another side story related to Tenet.
Yeah, I saw this. I guess this was on the 25th, just recently. But the title Tenet, and it has something to do with things in reverse. That's all we happen to know about the movie. So cleverly, the title of the film in the trailer and posters and whatnot has the words a palindrome, right? So it's spelled the same forwards and backwards. Right. And the way that they've made a clever play on the plot is they've twisted the back half of the word. So the half of the N and the E and the T on the back end are turned upside down, but it still somewhat resembles the word tenant. So it turns out, there happens to be a bike company called Tenet, and that was exactly their logo. It's the word Tenet with the back half flipped. And so they posted on their Instagram or something, and they said, look, this really sucks. It's almost the exact same logo, and we are pointing this out to the world because their stance was, we don't want people thinking that we're this company that's capitalizing on what's probably going to be a popular movie. We are trying to carve out our little section of the bicycle market. We want to be a company that's here to stay, and this makes us look like we capitalize on something else and leaves us as a potential flash in the pan and something to be ignored. But they said they were also advised not to take legal action because you just, you take on a big movie studio and their lawyers, you're just going to flush thousands and thousands of dollars down the drain, and they're probably going to win.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? So that's, I feel bad for them. That would really, can you imagine, you spent all these years waiting to go out with your company, and then this happens, and you have to defend yourself, and people probably may not believe you. And so anyway, what was really cool about it was they got an email from Warner Brothers after they went out about this and said, give us your email. And so he did. And then he got an email from Christopher Nolan himself reaching out to this company, and he said, "Hey, like this is kind of crazy. Like I guess lightning does strike twice, with a good idea because we were pretty proud of it ourselves." And he said, I want to assure you that we didn't rip you off. It wasn't like some marketing company saw your thing and then tried to present it to me. And I know this. He's like, because I came up with the logo. And so he then said, like, look, we did it for a reason. It has to do with the plot of our movie. However, I completely acknowledge that you copyrighted this image first. So it's up to you. Like, if you would like me to change the logo of my movie, I'll do that. And then the next thing you know, the new trailer comes out and the logo's different. So apparently the company was like, yeah, do that.
To me, it's like, no, I'll change it if you want. But I think in your heart of hearts, it's worth hanging on to. And I think I'm just going to leave it to you to do what's right. Cut to new trailer, new logo.
I know. I love in his letter too, or his email. He even goes, "I love our logo, our logo. I love that. So I hope you won't feel this is necessary, but if you like, I can stop using it since you went public with yours first."
Cut to like a dumpster outside of Warner Brothers with like all the signage with
right.
Like the workmen are nailing in the new logo.
yeah, just the back. It's like a slapdash piece of wood with it, like over the back end of the But what I thought was classy too is he's like, look, you can quote me, like you can take any part of this email and put it on your website. Like I'm more than happy for you to use my words. And I think, I saw this on like a film blog, and some of the comments weren't very favorable toward the bike company. And it's like, I see it. I absolutely do feel for them because that's a sticky situation. I think what would be nice, which I don't know that I have seen yet, is a response from them. You know what I mean? I think if they were to be grateful and say, we chose this, here's why, he's a class act. He didn't have to do that. He did. Like we're all kumbaya a little bit. I think that would be nice. But at this point, all we have is the comic scenario we just presented. So.
Well, so the Tenet story is TBD. Let's see where we're at in 2 weeks when we record our next episode.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole story is just a moving target right now.
Yep.
I got some headlines though, Brian.
All right.
So, a little bit of sad news. Unfortunately, just to start things out, we've had quite a few people who have passed away since the last time we recorded, and a lot of memorable folks. Jerry Stiller.
Yeah.
Jerry Stiller nowadays is best remembered for being George Costanza's dad on Seinfeld.
Right.
He was 92 years old, Jerry Stiller.
Wow.
But he's, of course, the father of Ben Stiller, and he was also on a show that I happen to like quite a bit called The King of Queens.
He's great on that, too.
He was great on it, and that ran for the same number of years as Seinfeld.
Oh, wow. Did it really?
Yeah, it was 9 seasons.
Wow.
King of Queens, of Queens, has the distinction of being the last show that started in the 90s to be canceled.
Wow. I would never think of that as a 90s show.
Last sitcom.
Sure.
Because it does feel like a 2000s show, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's wow. I had no idea.
So Jerry Stiller, the legendary comedy duo, Stiller and Mira, his wife, Ben Stiller's mom. I mean, they were married for 60 plus years. She passed away in 2015, and he hung in there for a couple more years after that. Sorry, you were saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say a friend of mine sent me a link where it was a Seinfeld episode, and, they have different packages, and it's on Hulu, and it's on this, and it's on that. And apparently, whatever streaming service they watched it on, I can't remember if it was Hulu, but they had an episode, the first episode with George's parents.
Yes, and it wasn't Jerry Stiller.
Yes, it was before he was recast, or that character was recast with Jerry Stiller. And so someone did a side-by-side comparison of the same scenes with the two different actors, and it is fascinating.
Oh, it's completely different energy.
Different energy. I mean, it's literally like, well, it's not literally, but it's a look into a parallel universe. You're like, oh, what would that have looked like if so and so had played? And you get to see it, like, oh, it would have looked like this, and it's funny. But then you see what Jerry Stiller brought to it, and you're like, oh, well, I'll never forget this. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because he started on the show much later. Like, I want to say like the 4th or 5th season.
Okay.
And yet you sort of just think of him as being, part of it, And even, however many episodes there were, he was in maybe a third of them.
Wow, yeah. But I mean, people, I still, hear them say like, Serenity now!
Yeah, exactly. People still do that.
Yeah.
There's an episode of The King of Queens where his character, Arthur, so he's Kevin James' father-in-law on that show, flashes back to his childhood. And Ben Stiller plays his dad.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. But yeah, he will be missed. Another Seinfeld alum just passed away, and this is Richard Hurd. And Richard Hurd is another, we talk about this a lot. He's another one of those, hey, that guy's.
Yep.
87 years old. So he was Mr. Wilhelm. He was George Costanza's boss at the Yankees.
Yeah.
But I knew him from the miniseries V.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was the first time I saw him. He's one of the alien visitors. And he was also on the show T.J. Hooker. He was on Star Trek. And he was just most recently, I remember him from Get Out. Right. He's like the guy who comes up with the evil white people machine, whatever it's called. Right. This is not COVID related. He was 87 years old. He had cancer.
Oh man!
But he's one of those actors who, again, if you don't, the name doesn't sound familiar, Google him, Richard Hurd, H-E-R-D. I guarantee you, every single person listening to this show knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's one of those
actually,
guys.
Zachy, to be fair, I mean, Zachy did that for me. I was like, oh, I'm not sure by name. And then he had me Google him, and I was like, oh, right. Just one of those faces, yeah, you remember.
And you just say, like, to have a career like that.
Uh-huh, right.
Where just, I mean, for decades, he continued to work.
Yep. Similarly, sadly, Fred Willard passed.
Yes.
And, I mean, speaking of someone who's just been around forever and been in so many things. I mean, I so associate him with the Christopher Guest movies, but I mean, I even forgot that he's in Anchorman. He has so many great lines in that, and he was in Modern Family recently. And I mean, and apparently he did a lot of like late night talk show sort of sketch things.
That's how I know him.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
Like, that's how I came to know him.
Right.
Because Jay Leno would always throw to Fred Willard as a specific kind of character.
Right.
And then that continued on through Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, and he's like the genial dolt.
Exactly.
Is kind of his thing.
That was his persona.
Yeah. And I mean, and also, I mean, for fans of the Christopher Guest films, I mean, they're all geniuses, truly. But he was always that guy that just found that way to be the one that every time he's in a scene, you're like, you sit up a little bit and you're like, oh, what's he going to say now? Like, he's just so good. Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, all those things. And I, had the pleasure of working with him on For Your Consideration. And being a fan of Christopher Guest films previously, when I was going to this movie, I was very excited to see everyone. I mean, goodness, Catherine O'Hara and, Eugene Levy and all these people. But Fred Willard, I was so excited to see him. And I actually did get to watch him, shoot some scenes and do his improv with Jane Lynch in that movie. They played like a bunch of, or two Entertainment Tonight reporters. And just the stuff they would say, I mean, it just killed me. I was seeing it live. It was so amazing. But there's a scene where they were doing like a "Where are they now?" sort of thing on Entertainment Tonight. And he's dressed like Sherlock Holmes and he has like the hat, and the magnifying glass and all that. So then when the movie was over, somehow that hat came through the post-production office. And I just grabbed it and I put it on and I made it my thinking hat. And so I just loved it. It was just cool and different and comfortable and whatever. And so then eventually the wardrobe person was just like, if you want it, you can have it. And I was like,
wow.
Really? And so, the production ended up giving me that hat. And I have it in my closet. And every now, I even brought it to my current job sometimes. We have like a story break and I'll just put it on trying to be funny. And we had like a funny hat day thing. And so I mean, it was kind of weird, like having that. And I pulled it out of my closet the day he passed and started looked at it and was like, oh wow, like I remember him making me laugh wearing that hat, and it feels sort of special. I get to have that.
So Brian's head is 1 degree of Fred Willard.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
Most recently he had a recurring role as Ty Burrell's dad on Modern Family.
Right.
And that was such perfect casting because Ty Burrell was essentially playing a Fred Willard character.
Right. That's funny. Yeah.
So it was the equivalent of Sean Connery being cast as Indiana Jones's dad.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's funny.
But I mean, he looked very frail at the end. I mean, it was I had a certain image of him from the 90s, and it's like, oh,
right.
But he remained hilarious up until the end.
Yep. Yep.
So Fred Willard, R.I.P. This is a couple more unsung heroes here. Yeah.
So Star Wars related people who, speaking of unsung, but sort of when you have a series of movies that is so beloved and people have so steeped themselves in the minutia of not only the films themselves but the filmmaking, it's like even the people who are associated with the making of the film have become somewhat legendary. And Kim Nightingale, he was the boom operator who, if you watch some behind the scenes photos of Luke on Tatooine, and I think most notably there's a picture of him stepping out of his land speeder, you'll see a man wearing nothing but pink shorts. So no shirt, just these short pink shorts holding a boom mic. And he has become so recognized from that picture that at Comic-Cons and Star Wars celebrations, people cosplay as him.
How funny.
So, right? And so it actually got to a point where later in life, he was made aware of this. So let's see. He actually had a quote about it. I guess he was interviewed by ABC News about this and, the shorts and the picture and everything. And what he said was, it was very, very hot. And then when he was asked about his new fan base, he just said, I think it's very nice. They seem to like it. Good for them.
It doesn't, I mean, he was English, and that just sounds so very English.
Yeah. I think even Mark Hamill was just like, on set, he loved to like poke fun at the movie they were making because, of course, they had no idea what they were doing. They got this giant dog man walking around and whatever. And so, yeah. Oh, and then there's like, it's just been fascinating to see the people who sort of pay attention to these things. Like I belong to some pages, like filmmaker pages on Facebook, and they've actually made like tributes to him, like 8-bit characters of him in his pink shorts holding a boom mic. And so, I mean, I don't know. I hope as sort of, nonplussed as he seemed about it, like I hope he did kind of appreciate like, damn, I became a part of that thing too. I was behind the camera the whole time, but somehow I got cut up into this legend as well.
I mean, it's, you think of Star Wars as this magnificent tapestry. Mm-hmm. And you look at that and if you're Ken Nightingale, you say, well, a couple of those threads I wove into this those are my threads.
Yeah. And I hope it made him smile.
Related to that actually is Charles Lippincott, who passed away just a couple of days ago. And truly another unsung hero in the history of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Or not unsung, because I think for people who know the history of the franchise, they recognize the important role that he played, but it doesn't get the acknowledgement that he should.
Sure.
If you ever played with a Star Wars toy when you were a kid, if you ever bought Star Wars merch, if you read a Star Wars comic book, if you hung a Star Wars poster up on your wall, it's because Charles Lippincott had the foresight to make that happen.
Right.
So he was the advertising and publicity supervisor for the original release. Mm-hmm. And you say, it's the movie with the guy in the dog suit, whatever. Nobody wanted to take this thing seriously.
Right.
He was the guy who went to all the different toy companies and tried to get them to sell it. He took it to Marvel Comics and tried to get them to see that there was a comic book worthy story here. Mm-hmm. And when no one was doing this, he took Star Wars to comic conventions And, this isn't a Hall H panel. He had a table set up with posters and stills before the movie had even come out.
Yep.
So the genesis of sort of the marketing ubiquity of Star Wars started with Charles Lippincott just trying to get people to take this thing seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't undervalue that.
I was just thinking, it takes a village. I mean, you can make... That's, there's this like thought experiment. If you went back in time and you knew of Star Wars, you're like, oh, well, then I'd go back and I'd make it first.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah. Like, it just wouldn't happen that way. I mean, it had to happen the way that it did with the people that made it happen. And of course, that starts with George Lucas, but it fans out into the cast, it fans out into the crew, John Williams, and then you have these people who had just these sort of out of the box ways of thinking that got us to look,
Yeah, and Charles Lippincott also went on to, because he was a Fox employee, he also did the marketing for Alien 2 years later.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so another key factor there. And he was a really interesting dude. I was actually friends with him on Facebook, and I would interact with him fairly often.
Huh.
And the heartbreaking part of all of this is ever since the shelter-in-place order kicked in and COVID-19 became much more of an active concern, he would post all the time. I mean, he was getting up there in years. He'd be like, take this seriously. Look, I don't want to die because of your, stupidity, people who are blowing it off as a hoax or whatever. And it was a recurring, commentary from him, like, take this seriously. And then, 2 weeks ago, he had a cardiac event, went to the hospital, contracted COVID-19, and that led to his passing away. And it was just absolutely heartbreaking that here's somebody who's saying, I don't want this thing to kill me.
Right.
And that's what unfortunately ended up happening.
Wow.
And there's this extra element of seeing it all happen in real time.
Right.
Where, again, this was somebody who, to whatever extent social media allows for a relationship, I had enough interaction with where I felt the sting of that passing in a very personal way.
Yeah. Wow.
He was a really engaging presence. He would share all kinds of marketing materials and stuff, not to trumpet, oh, this movie happened because of me, but more like, oh, I got a garage full of this stuff. Here's something interesting. Here's something, just, oh, here's a cool thing that, nobody's ever seen, whatever,
That's cool.
Yeah. And he had plans. He's like, I want to get rid of all this stuff. I'm getting old. I want to, and it's just, he just ran out of runway, man.
Wow.
Well,
it's nice. I mean, it's like what we hope for, to leave something behind.
Yeah.
And here we are. I mean, recognizing these people and still talking about their work.
Yes. Yeah. So they will all be missed, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have some other news here, Brian.
Yeah, well, okay, so we're all inside, we're streaming stuff, right? And Disney Plus is obviously really, I think, benefited from this. And to my surprise, when Disney Plus was launched, they said, they're going to have a couple new things, they're going to have some old shows, and they're going to have The Simpsons. And that was surprising enough, right? That The Simpsons was going to be a part of this Disney
right
streaming channel. But it's like when you log on, I mean, it's one of their main buttons. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like Star Wars, Simpsons, Mickey Mouse, which is just surreal.
And by the way, real quick, do you find it amusing a little bit how The Simpsons has sort of gotten grandfathered into being wholesome family entertainment?
Yeah, I mean...
Because it surely wasn't that when it started.
No. I mean, it was not. When it launched, that was like the dangerous show.
Yeah, exactly.
Like parents didn't let their kids watch it. Like President Bush, H.W. Bush, spoke out against it. Like, I mean, it was like it's insane to think that now it's this sort of wholesome Disney content. But it's also, I mean, from where I'm sitting, I mean, it had a little edge to it, but it always was kind of wholesome in a way. I mean, it was a show that celebrated family, at least in its strongest years, in my opinion. I mean, it really was about the family, coming together and
I think
traditional.
I think part of it also, Brian, is that you and I were like 9 and 10 when it started.
Right.
And so for us, that's just, we associate that with that part of our life.
Absolutely.
And so in 30 years, you've had several, generations of kids come up who have shared in that experience with their parents.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that someone who maybe started watching it in the year 2000, I mean, they have a whole different idea of what The Simpsons is than I do.
Yeah.
Or someone, your kid's age, who, if they watch new episodes now, they have a whole different idea of what The Simpsons is than what I do.
Yeah, what's funny is because it's pretty much a nightly thing where we'll watch a Simpsons or two before they go to bed. And I tend to jump around. And I tend to sort of stay in like the first 10 seasons usually, because Lord knows that's enough,
Right.
But every once in a while I'll put on like a more recent one, just to gauge their reactions, And in a way, I think it's almost for the best that they don't think of it as this long sort of descent.
Yeah.
So because they're just looking at like, oh, it's all these shows and there's just from all over and some are like this, some are like that, but they don't view it in that same way,
Well, is the jump from HD to the sort of, old actual hand-drawn animation days, is that jarring to them?
It's I wouldn't say jarring, but it is something they remark on. But they're not like, oh, this is bad and this is good.
Well, what's interesting about that is obviously when you look at the older animation, I mean, it was presented on square televisions where like a large television was like 32 inches,
Right.
And so a lot of the blemishes or errors or even shadows from the cells are super magnified and present when you blow that up to try to fit into a 16:9 television. Like you're cutting off the top, you're cutting off the bottom, you're zooming in a way that it was never really intended to be examined.
Right.
And FXX, when they brought over all the Simpsons episodes, all Simpsons ever, or whatever they called it, that was what they first did, was they're like, look, people won't accept watching a show in 4:3, even if that's the way it originally was, so we're just going to zoom in, cut off the top and bottom, and make it fit on the way televisions look now.
Right.
And then there was this outcry, and FXX was like, okay. And so then they made the 4:3 episodes available, even though I think it was only ever on their app, never on television, as far as I know.
That's
But
correct,
anyways,
yes.
When Disney Plus inherited all the Simpsons episodes, they made the same mistake FXX did, and they just put the cropped 16:9 episodes up, and again, there was an outcry, but Disney pretty quickly responded and said that they were going to correct it. And now, May 28th, that is when they said they're going to launch the correct aspect ratio episodes of The Simpsons. So,
Well, it better late than never.
yeah. And it's so kind of ironic to me because, I mean, people are so used to the idea of Letterboxd on television. Like, I tuned into a little bit of Raiders of the Lost Ark on CBS, just, the CBS Sunday night movie, just for nostalgia's sake. And it blew my mind that I was looking at a 2:35 Letterboxd movie on CBS with black bars on my television in HD. Like, I mean, I was like, what universe am I living in?
That's really
And
funny.
so if we care that much now on a CBS and we're going to show an old movie, we're going to show it in the correct aspect ratio. And when DVD came out, it was this whole thing. Like, people had to learn, like, no, those black bars are there for a reason, because otherwise you are missing the image. Like, you had to sell the world on Letterboxd and its merit. And now it's just kind of ironic when you have all these older shows like Friends or Seinfeld and Simpsons, and they're just cropping everything again. And you're like,
Yep.
no, it's the same lesson. Like
But in reverse. Like,
yeah. It's like, no. Now the bars have to go on the side, and that's just the way it is. Like, this is how it looks. And The Simpsons, a lot of people are quick to point out, there are gags that are not understood any longer because the joke is up top and cut off.
right.
So, but Disney was pretty quick to respond to be like, cool, yep, got it, right, we'll do that. And so, that's happening now tomorrow, which is like Thursday, May 28th.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't realize it was happening that quickly. That's good.
Yeah.
I just, related to Simpsons and aspect ratios, I just watched the movie just a couple days ago.
Oh, how's that?
Last time I saw it was in the theater with you.
No kidding.
Yeah, so 2007.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. How was it?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
it's
having
like
that feeling when we saw it.
It's like a decent modern Simpsons,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. I actually did see it recently.
Okay.
I think it was on TV, and I just stopped and watched the whole thing. And it's a lot, right? It is just jammed with jokes.
Yeah, and there's a few that are very funny. A few are just kind of like modern Simpsons where you just kind of chuckle. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have a bomb disarming robot that shoots itself.
Right.
Which might be like my funniest gag in the movie.
Right. And then Wiggum's like, that robot was just one day away from retirement.
That was funny. But, I mean, that's, it's almost like, I feel like the movie is like a good demarcation point. Mm-hmm. Maybe an arbitrary demarcation point. But, I mean, I don't watch modern episodes regularly, but I dip in and out. And I always say, like, even a modern one, you'll laugh like 2 or 3 times in an episode at the cleverness of a joke. And I'm like, sometimes that's fine,
Right.
It's not, but those early, certainly those first 10 seasons, you can watch them again and again and again and again. I don't even know how many times I've watched those episodes.
And for the most part, those jokes are so evergreen.
Yes.
I mean, they're just as funny then as they are now. Like, I mean, you have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel. That's just always going to be funny.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the modern stuff is heavily reliant on temporal pop culture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like instead of TikTok, it's Nick Knock or whatever. Like they do a lot of that type of stuff.
Right. And the tempo of their joke telling has changed. Where I saw this Patrick S. Wilhelms,
yes.
I believe it is. Brilliant. Just absolutely. Someone sent it to me and it said, why the Simpsons aren't as funny as they used to be. And he's like, no, I'm literally going to explain why. And I was like, yeah, right, buddy. Like everybody tries. And I watched it and I was like, oh yeah, that's it.
He did a really good job with it. Yeah. He specifically picks apart the episode Lemon of Troy.
Yes.
Which is like season 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yes. But
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, he uses that. He's like, this is the perfect Simpsons episode.
Right.
And he explains why.
Yep. Well, and he explains what, like the tempo of joke telling. You know what I mean? And he said now, what I thought was really most revealing, and I absolutely see it now, is they didn't stop for you to laugh back then. They just kept going joke, joke, joke. But now they kind of do that sort of sitcom-y setup as if there's going to be a laugh track. It's just a different style of joke telling, and it's just not for me because I grew up with 10 years of another style of joke telling that I personally prefer.
Although, when you talk about age, I mean, one thing I have noticed is that Julie Kavner's voice, now, I don't know if you've noticed this, I mean, it is noticeably different.
Interesting. It's been a while.
Yeah, if you watch a recent episode and just listen to Marge, and this is not a critique of Julie Kavner because I mean it's 30 years later, and she's doing something with her voice where she's rubbing it against sandpaper. Right. It's not easy, but it is noticeably a different Marge voice.
Interesting. Which I mean, of course, that's just gonna happen.
That's just Father Time. Yeah, but the fact that we are here 30 years later talking about new Simpsons episodes, that itself tells you something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I say this all the time. People complain like, it sucks now and it's no good. Or who's still watching it? And I'm like, look, somebody's watching it.
Right.
Because
right. Or they wouldn't be giving it money.
Right. You don't keep a show going just for shits and giggles.
Right.
They've had many opportunities to cancel The Simpsons, and they have not done that because it's still getting, by today's network standards, a large number of viewers. Mm-hmm. So that tells you something. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember even when the movie came out, I had fallen out by then
Yes.
And I remember it being like really cool going to the theater, and it was with you and Sean, and it was just full, and it was like diverse, and everybody was laughing.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh wow, like when you watch a television show, it's like yours. You know what I mean? And you think it should belong to you. And it was really interesting to go out there and see this thing that felt so personal to me, and see like, no, it belongs to the world. It does make me happy that it's still going. Like I would, even though I don't watch it anymore, I'd feel sad if it went away.
Keep it going.
Sure.
So here's something interesting, Brian. Ruby Rose, you know Ruby Rose?
I do, yeah. From Orange is the New Black is what I know her from.
That's what most people know her from. Yeah, she's first time I ever saw her was in Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage.
Right. I don't think I ever saw that.
Yeah, you didn't miss much.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was cast as the lead in the CW series Batwoman.
Right.
Now, Batwoman, the comic book character, is an out gay character. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to cast an out gay actress, and that's why getting Ruby Rose, known for movies, was kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. So she did one season of Batwoman, and then she has tapped out.
I saw this because, I mean, I am not super versed in those shows, the sort of DC TV stuff, but even I mean, it was hard to miss when she was cast, and launching it was like a big deal, and they were really proud to have this whole package together. And likewise, I saw a lot of articles about her no longer going to be a part of it. So why is that? So
let me stipulate here, I have not watched the show. So my familiarity with her in the role is really from like the crossover, the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing that she was in. And if I'm being honest, her performance didn't really blow me away.
Yeah, I remember the trailers for the show. I watched it because I was like, "Oh, cool! Like Batwoman, what's that look like?" Because I love Batman so much, and it just didn't grab me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "All right, well, I hope people like it. It's not going to be one that I feel the need to watch regularly." Mm-hmm. But regardless, it's virtually unheard of to have the lead actor of a show just tap out after one season when the show. I mean, it's not. Again, it's not NYPD Blue, where the title is a reference to a concept. I mean, she is Batwoman.
Right.
So it's unusual to have a series lead just bolt and have the role recast. And when you think back, I mean, I'm struggling to think of another example of something like this on as high profile a series as this.
Yeah, it tends to be more with a movie, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit easier to sort of, you haven't had 20-some episodes with them, and it's just like, well, this is just the way it's going to go.
I think when you talk about movies, I think she was used to a movie schedule.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think the reasoning is? I saw a few, I mean, because she hasn't really said, but there's some speculation about a couple things, right?
Yeah, I think she was not happy with the amount of work.
Right.
And when I say that, I mean, that sounds bad. Like, oh, she, I'm not implying she was lazy, but I mean, she sustained a spinal injury this past season that, I mean, could have crippled her, God forbid.
That's what I had read. Yeah, I mean, it hours on anything are tough, but if you are under physical duress, and perhaps that's not what she imagined she was signing up for.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, having spinal injury is enough to make someone take a step back and, make some decisions.
Yeah, and I mean, Stephen Amell, who played the lead role on Arrow, which just ended its run after 8 seasons, right? He was on a podcast recently. He was on a podcast hosted by Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville.
Okay.
And so the podcast just involves Rosenbaum having conversations with different actors. So here's Stephen Amell coming on the show, sort of taking stock of these 8 years. And he actually had to stop the interview because as he was reflecting, he was having a panic attack.
Really?
So he had to go and walk it off, and then he came back later to record the rest. But I mean, you can listen to it. You can actually hear him as he starts having the beginnings of this panic attack.
Wow, that's awful.
Yeah, so you can imagine that, you're spending the majority of the year in Vancouver, You're doing physically intensive work, and you're working, 14 to 16-hour days. It's going to take its toll. Now Stephen Amell, I think by the end of the series, he was like a producer, right? So the longer you stick around in these shows, the more clout you have. I think if I were to guess, Ruby Rose, her only encounter with episodic TV was Orange is the New Black, which is a very different production paradigm, both in terms of what's expected of you and how much of a presence you have on the show, because she was a supporting character. And then suddenly you have an entire production revolving around you. So I can see that level of stress, kind of what we said earlier, like radiating outward and making it not fun for anybody. And what I've read is this was like a mutual, a conscious uncoupling,
Right. Yeah, I thought like an unnamed source was like, she wasn't happy, no one was happy, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, well, I don't have any tie to the show, so it's easy for me to say this, but it's like, well, get someone in there who's ready to be there and wants to do it, and it probably will be a better show for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have some work ahead of them. They have to recast. And I was thinking of similar examples of like a lead role having to be recast. Well, two examples come to mind, actually. One is, staying in the DC Comics realm, Superboy, the TV series Superboy.
Okay.
Because that show lasted for 4 seasons, and the actor who played Superboy in the first year, his name was John Hames Newton. He was fired and then replaced for the next 3 seasons. So that's one example. And then more recently, there was the series Spartacus.
Okay.
Which I think the actor got sick. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, wow.
And so he was on 2 seasons, and then the 3rd season was with a different actor.
Okay. Yeah. I guess when thinking of leads, I was trying to rack my brain for anything else, and I remember Aunt Vivian changing on Fresh Prince, but that's not... That'd be like changing Will Smith.
It would be like changing Will, yeah.
But, then the show being the comedy that it was, I remember them being like, something's different about you.
They actually
you can kind
on
of lean into it a little bit.
Yeah, and she, original Aunt Vivian, is no Will Smith fan.
Correct. Right.
That much we know.
Right.
Her name was Janet Hubert Whitten, I think.
Wow, good memory.
Well, I watched a lot of Fresh Prince. But speaking of DC Comics...
Uh-huh.
So here's the thing that just happened,
that's
right?
it for news.
That's it
for the week.
That's so here's the thing that 2020 has been an interesting year. We've had a global plague. We've had murder hornets are a thing that exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now we have the announcement of the Snyder Cut.
How long has this... I mean, do we even need to go back and explain what that is?
I feel like maybe for the sake of posterity.
Yes. Would you... I'm sure you could probably give a great succinct summation of that.
Well, it started in the year 5 million BC when... Doesn't it feel like that? Like, this all started with Ugg the Caveman killing, another dude with a rock.
Right.
And just something there just led to where we are right now. So the movie Justice League came out in 2016, and it had a fraught road to the screen because they began filming virtually weeks after Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice came out, and the reaction to that film was, to put it politely, polarizing. Critics lined up to take a mallet to it. But more importantly, the box office dropped precipitously from weekend 1 to weekend 2.
Right.
So Warner Brothers is concerned because, we've got our entire big universe plans wrapped up in this particular vision from this particular filmmaker, Zack Snyder. And so rather than doing the rational thing, which is, let's hit pause on principal photography and sort of make some adjustments, they went ahead with principal photography and essentially tried to make adjustments while filming. And throughout this process, Zack Snyder has a very troubled relationship with the studio because they keep trying to make him change the thing he was signed to do.
Right.
And at some point, he screens a cut for executives, which they're not thrilled with. They say it needs some more work. Shortly thereafter, his daughter, unfortunately, commits suicide. And this is where things get a little tricky based on the spin, but my understanding is the studio used that as a pretext to announce what they had already done, which is push him out of the director's chair.
Right. He can go be with family and tend to family matters, and they will bring someone else in to bring this thing home.
Yes. And so they brought in Joss Whedon, he of two very successful Avengers movies, to recut, reshoot, and in many cases rescript big chunks of the movie. So the movie's released in 2017, and it is a Frankenstein monster of a thing that has aspects of both filmmakers, but is identifiable as neither, you know?
Right, right.
And had the movie come out and been a smash hit success, I think that may well have been the end of it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But it came out and completely shit the bed.
Right.
I mean, this was a biblical level disaster, right?
Yeah. For what a movie like this should do, it did not do it.
No. There you go. I mean, it made like $500 million, I think, worldwide.
Right.
But when you think about it, I mean, this is DC's version of the Avengers. This should have made $1 billion plus.
Right.
So,
and been beloved. And
yeah, none of that happened. Critics derided it. Audiences didn't show up. It was just a total disaster. So very shortly thereafter, the hashtag began. Release the Snyder Cut.
Right.
And that was, I mean, gosh, when did the movie come out? 3 years ago at this point. So almost since then, the hashtag. Wow. And we've spent plenty of time on this show talking about sort of the ubiquity and kind of stupidity of deploying this hashtag regardless of whether the occasion was appropriate. Like, oh, we're you know, yes. Warner Brothers will tweet like, oh, we're sad to hear of the death of this person, and they'll be like, you know, what he would have liked to see before he died, the Snyder Cut, you know, like stuff like that.
Right. There was the good and the bad. There were people, what I was surprised, and I didn't even realize, was that this, I mean, I guess I'll call it a movement. These people that supported this thing, they also tried to do good, like yes. rally people together to do good, all in the name of releasing this movie. They want this movie released. But then, of course, as with anything, you have your a-holes.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you know, they did things like pay for, you know, having like a banner flown over San Diego Comic-Con and things like that. They raised money for suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Objectively good ends.
Mm-hmm. And when you talk about the banner, I mean, they even got a billboard in Times Square for this thing at one point, which was like, wow. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is something that you and I have talked about it plenty of times on this show. And this is where the movie film pragmatic approach really pays dividends, in my opinion. Because what you've had was people choosing up sides on this divide. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, it needs to come out right now, and it's going to be amazing, and it's never going to come out ever, and you're a piece of crap. That became the polarity of this argument.
Right.
And I get it, because going back to what we were saying, there were some objectively bad operators and who were borderline sociopathic while
Right.
while stumping for this hashtag. But I can speak to this firsthand because a lot of those people went after me because I didn't like Batman vs Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have said on this show is two things. Number one, what exists right now is not in a releasable form.
Right.
Number one. But what we've also said is they will probably release something eventually. Something will come out.
Right.
Because it's even, and I think you said this, like even if it's an unfinished film, they will at some point put it out.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the arguments why people thought this would never happen is, yes, there's a cut, but they had to sort of explain what an assembly cut is. You know, for every movie gets an assembly cut, which is where pretty much everything that's shot is laid out in order. And then you go through, and then they have weeks later, a director has to deliver their director's cut to the studio. And so his first cut was like 4 hours long. And I think the argument possibly against it happening was, yes, there's a quote unquote cut, but that's not anything that's even watchable. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, you and I were like, yes, that is true. But to be charitable, I mean, even looking at the Superman 2 Donner cut that came out, which was imperfect, but it came out, you know, we were like, yeah, maybe a version of this could see the light of day someday, but it won't be, this polished, finished product.
Yeah,
right?
What we said, I mean, it was going to require money to finish. And you had people who were like, no, it's ready to go. It's just sitting in a drawer. And what I said consistently is like, look, if it was in releasable form, it would have been out already.
Right.
That's just a fact. If it was ready to go, after the theatrical cut flopped, Warner Brothers would have been like, you know what, put that version out on the DVD. We can move some units that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact. So I said it from the beginning. I was like, I think something will come out eventually. And actually, I got into it with somebody who a couple of months ago who was like, no, it's never going to happen. And I said, I think forever is a long time.
Right.
I was like, again, it took 25 years for that Richard Donner edit of Superman 2. So I rule nothing out.
Mm-hmm. And money is money.
Money is money. So here's what happened.
Yeah.
Here's what changed between November of 2017 and now is that Warner Brothers was purchased by AT&T, and B, they announced a brand new streaming service.
Right.
And C, there's a global pandemic that stopped all production of new stuff. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't you know, here's an asset that's just sitting there.
Yep.
And it needs a little work. And starting last fall, so November of last year, the Warner Brothers people, the HBO people, reached out to Snyder to see if this was something that was achievable. Mm-hmm. So Snyder screens his assembly for HBO Max executives in February, and back then they decided we're going to move forward on this, and we're going to complete his version of the movie and put it out as an HBO Max exclusive next year.
Right.
Now, regardless of where you stand on his vision of the universe or whether you like his films or not, I think this is just a cool thing.
I agree. Yeah.
And I say this as, look, man, it's a brand new version of this movie. It's more time with these characters. I think that's cool. I want to watch it. I said that from the beginning. I would watch it. Of course I would watch it. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a genius play from HBO Max because all these Release the Snyder Cut people have to put up or shut up now.
Right.
Sign up. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Your ass better not bootleg this shit.
Right.
Right?
Well, and it's like you say, it's lying around, and it is. It's unfinished, but to the other people's point that were like, this would require significant work. It's going to require $20 million worth of work to make this presentable on HBO Max. So it's kind of like everybody was right. You know what I mean? Like it was achievable, but it is no small feat. Like it is a wise investment. Like you said, it's an asset they have, and that's a relatively small budget for this type of film.
Well, apparently,
to just
Brian,
sort of,
20 million is, at this point, it's a pipe dream. Because Robert Greenblatt, who's one of the heads of HBO Max, he was on a podcast, and he's like, if 30 million was it, I would love that. But it's going to... That's the base. That's the basement.
So wait, so that's just the headline number.
Yeah, we're looking at potentially somewhere between $30 and $50 million to get this thing finished.
Wow,
because
$1 million.
You're talking about,
and they're not even going to do reshoots, right? I mean, they're just working with what they have.
Apparently, yeah. So Snyder wanted to bring the cast back in, and based on what I'm reading, HBO Max has put the line there. No,
right.
You work with what you have. Now, that I don't think that rules out, some CGI stuff to sort of fill in the gaps and make it seamless. And we know that the cast will probably come in and loop dialogue and whatnot. Mm-hmm. We know that the cast is very loyal to Zack Snyder.
I mean, they tweeted out the hashtag.
Yeah,
which was sort of a surprising twist.
Yeah, and you can understand. I mean, the fact that the movie comes out and it performs as disastrous. Let me start that again. That pronunciation was disastrous. As disastrously as it does. Mm-hmm. None of them want that to be their legacy with these characters.
Right, and you have to assume, I mean, they signed on to take a leap with this person's vision that was presented to them.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they have some sort of loyalty or belief in it.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, like, they're going to be fine because they got their franchises. Ben Affleck, who is extremely done, right?
Right.
I'm sure he would love for the finished film to be reflective of what he was told, his character was going to go through.
Right, right.
Because I like Ben Affleck just fine, but I mean, you can sort of, when you watch the theatrical cut of Justice League, you can sort of see his soul trying to escape through his nostrils at times, you know? And so the question now is, what form is this going to take? Because they're saying it could be like a 4 or 5 episode miniseries. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever, I guess. But there's all these legalities that have to be worked out because the actors signed on for a film. So do they have to be paid again? How does this all work? And I don't know. Apparently, the Warner Bros. People, that's what took so long to announce this. They've been getting all the legal aspects covered.
Right, because, excuse me, that I think happened with Trolls too, right? Where
yes.
The actors had some sort of deal where after it makes a certain amount of box office, they get pay bumps. But it didn't really get box office technically, yes. And then it becomes sort of weird and lawyery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is fascinating because, again, see, this is why I'm a big fan of our practice pragmatism, because we don't have to apologize for anything later.
Right.
We're like, we said it all along. It's not in releasable form, but it'll probably come out at some point. There you go. Mm-hmm. All of that is true.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this announcement comes out and it eats up discussion online for however long. And you've got the reaction to the reaction, which is a bunch of articles like, are we rewarding bad behavior? Because, some of these people are objectively terrible.
Yeah, like bullies. Like, are you letting some bullies win?
Yeah, and to that I say, well, on one level you have to put that to the side, because I think the fact that this is happening is the result of a very specific set of circumstances. Mm-hmm. It's like 5 things in a row had to happen.
Yeah, and until you laid it out, I hadn't even factored in the whole pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally, this is in the Hollywood Reporter, where the Snyders, so this is Zack Snyder and his wife, were like, all these, our visual effects technicians are just, they're not doing anything. This is work for them. Like, this is an opportunity. Like, there's nothing else going on. We can get this done, And then you figure at some point when things start ramping up, you can bring in actors to loop dialogue and things like that. And we know that his version definitely has a beginning, middle, and end. Mm-hmm, so it'll exist. Now, is it meant to extend past that? That's the question. Like, is this going to signify ramping everything back up again? No, I don't. I'll be surprised if that happens.
Right.
Let's do Justice League 2. I think again, Ben Affleck is so extremely done. Right. And it's been very amusing because I've, AT&T or whatever, they put out a tweet with like a picture of Affleck with the bat signal, the Batfleck and the bat signal. And they're like, you never know who'll answer the call or something like that. And I remember seeing that tweet. I'm like, guys, don't do this. Like, you're setting people up to be disappointed. And right away, Affleck's going to come back. And I'm like, Ben Affleck gave an interview to New York Times a couple months ago where he talks about leaving Batman. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he'd written a script for his own Batman movie and he gave it to a friend, and the friend was like, it's a great script. You will drink yourself to death if you make this movie. Right. That's why he left. He's like, I will literally die if I make this Batman movie. I don't think he's in a hurry to get back into that. Right. Now, I'm happy to be wrong.
I would love that too. I mean, I hope there is a healthy way. I want to see that movie. I want to see Ben Affleck's Batman movie. Yes. But then, of course, now you have the Matt Reeves. But yeah, you're right. This sort of drums up. If this happens, then everyone's gonna be like, okay, let's do it now. Let's have Ben Affleck do his thing and release the Batfleck cut, and and then what does that do to poor Matt Reeves? And
I mean, I've literally seen
path over there.
I've seen people online being like, you know what this means? They're gonna cancel the Batman.
Which is in production,
in production. And I'm like, I love Twitter where you can just say whatever stupid thing pops into your head. It's like, no, of course they're not going to do that. Right. They're not going to tell Andy Serkis and Jeffrey Wright and friggin', Colin Farrell and, Paul Dano, et cetera, hey, guys, shut it down, guys. We're releasing a thing on streaming. Right? It's not going to happen. Now, does that mean Ben Affleck will never come back? Well, hey, never say never.
Hey, never say
never. The odds are exceedingly unlikely, but hey, you never do know. That said, the fact that they are putting... I've said this all along, by the way. I wasn't a fan of Batman vs. Superman necessarily. However, I think they did Zack Snyder dirty the way they treated him. Mm-hmm. I think you hired him to make a movie. It's not his fault he made the movie you hired him to make. Right. And in hindsight, they would have been better served just letting him finish, because what did they end up doing? They shoveled ungodly amounts of money into reshoots, right, and lost it anyway. So if it was going to flop anyway, right, you might as well have saved $100 million while doing that.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Now, that said, Zack Snyder does have a tendency to make pretty good director's cuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember liking the Batman v Superman director's cut.
I think it's an improvement.
It's an improvement, yeah.
It's an improvement. Watchmen, I think, is substantially improved. And so obviously his sensibility works better with the bigger canvas, and so streaming allows that, right? Yeah. I mean that's the thing that happened, because there was no universe where Warner Brothers was going to roll the dice on putting out a theatrical re-release. That just wasn't going to happen. No. So at best, you were looking at a home video release at a time when the market for physical media is dropping. Mm-hmm. So in other words, the literally the home media paradigm shifted in such a way that allowed for this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, HBO Max. I mean, you have successful companies all trying to get into the streaming game, and some are finding it harder than others. So how does HBO Max stand out? Well, they get a blockbuster superhero film that they could pretty much advertise as brand new. Yeah. Right? And it's going to cost them a fraction of the cost, and that'll, hopefully drive in subscriptions and...
Yeah, what we know about The difference
And they
is-
can't go into production on live action things. Like nothing live action can shoot at the moment.
Look at that.
So
And
they get a blockbuster.
Here's a thing where the majority of principal photography is finished. It needs a ton of post and get to work on it. And then you have the ability to bring the actors into loop dialogue and stitch it together. Now, I would assume whatever comes out will be in better shape than the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut, which I've gone on record probably on this show saying, I spent 10 years waiting for it, and then I watched it. I was like, okay,
Right.
I think this will be at least in production terms, it'll be more polished than that, and I hope it's better received than that. But what Snyder has said is he's like, I'd never watched the theatrical cut, but from my understanding, it's 75% is different than what he shot.
Wow.
Wow. And we know that the villain in Snyder's version was Darkseid. And Darkseid isn't even in the theatrical cut. Right. So it's like, yeah, man, it's sitting there. Like I said, I want to see it. I'm curious.
Yeah. Oh, I'll definitely watch it.
Now, what that has in turn led to is what other release the cuts can we, and it's already, somebody jokingly was like, oh, now we're going to get the release the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. And I was like, you're joking, but if this does well, of course they're going to want to do that. Mm-hmm. Because kind of the same drill, right? David Ayer has spoken at length about all the stuff that was shot with Jared Leto as the Joker that didn't make it into the movie. I mean, there's a whole ton of that, and I guarantee you, that cut is going to happen. I would count on it.
Yeah.
There will absolutely be a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad on HBO Max.
And I'll watch it.
There you go. Now, that being said, here's the cuts I want to see. And I'm not even being sarcastic. While we're talking about DC characters, there is a longer, darker cut of Batman Forever.
Ah, okay.
Release the Schumacher cut, Brian.
I would love to see that.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, was 90 minutes long when it came out, cut down from 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Brian, release the Sidney J. Fury cut.
I would watch it. And you know what? I would. I absolutely would.
I mean, for a lot of these, I'm like, look, if the footage exists and it's just sitting around and it just involves, if it involves the time to edit with minimal added expense, and you can brand it as a Max original or whatever, I think it only makes sense. And I'm only kind of joking about ever seeing a Schumacher cut that. But if there was if there was a new cut of Batman Forever with added footage, I would, without a question, I would watch it.
Sure. Same.
I want to see what that looks like, right? So my point is this whole conversation, we can look at it from the, why are we rewarding the bad actors argument, and by bad actors I mean the people, the hashtag brigade, not the actual actors who are good.
Right.
We can view it from that perspective. I choose to view it as, look, this is presenting a filmmaker's original intent, and I'm always going to land on that side of the argument.
Right. I think, this is kind of, it makes me happy because, when you were talking about these longer cuts you'd like to see, I mean, there's a legendary 3-hour version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And I feel like John Hughes' wife has even said, like, yeah, I got it. Really? Sitting in a box somewhere at the Hughes estate. Huh. And it's, as much as I would absolutely love to see that, I know that won't be a better movie. Like,
yes,
he made the movie he wanted.
It is, and
that would be
movie.
Cool to see as a novelty.
Yes.
But like, what's so cool about this is this was a thing that was meant to be something else, and through circumstances turned out a way that made a lot of people unhappy, including the person, the captain of the ship. So this is really cool that then, he gets to put out the thing he really wanted to do all along, Yeah,
and I mean, I think ultimately what always irked me is, and I knew this, his daughter's death was used as a pretext. Like, that always struck me as really shitty.
See, I don't know. I mean, I kind of know, but
Because the decision had already been made to remove him effectively. He was in essence, Brian, in the Gareth Edwards role on Rogue One.
right.
Where
I see.
If you remember, Rogue One, went through heavy retooling, which Gareth Edwards went along with.
Right.
And we can argue whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. I think the movie turned out well and it was successful, so that's why everybody just kind of squints past that, right? But the entire third act was changed. There were big changes made.
Right.
That the piece where Darth Vader goes apeshit was itself not part of the original construction of the film. They beefed that up. Right, but he went along with it, even though Tony Gilroy did it. I think that was probably the plan.
Right.
Was like, we're gonna bring Whedon in, and he'll write some new stuff, and then you shoot it, and whatever, right?
Right.
And there's something very tacky about essentially, again, like using this very real tragedy as a way to cover corporate bullshit.
Right. Right.
It's tacky, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad he gets to come back from that. Now, that being said, I want to really emphasize that the people who were stumping for this, the overwhelming majority of them are good, fine. They're just regular film buffs like you and me, right? There was this fraction of just absolute, objectively awful shitheads. And as a Muslim, I know all about a small group of people ruining it for everyone else.
Sure.
But these people, I've told you on this show, man, these guys would go after me constantly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I read about some of these things from a distance, but I've not, gotten any war injuries on me. But you putting yourself out there like you do, which you should, because you put valuable things into the world. You also make yourself available for some of the worst, attacks from the worst people. So
I mean,
you have firsthand experience with the worst of this.
And I have been absolutely consistent. I think the Snyder version should come out. I want to see it. I've said that as soon as this became a thing. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing what ensues. I would assume very shortly we're going to get a trailer of some kind. HBO Max is live now. And it looks very much like HBO Go right now.
Okay.
It's have you checked it out?
I haven't. I don't even know what is sort of available. So that'll be kind of fun to scroll through later.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now. It's obviously all the HBO stuff. So all the HBO originals, and then like a bunch of HBO movies. It's actually very funny because it's like Last Time to Watch, and it's like all these movies. And I'm like, guys, you just launched like 12 hours ago. But it's all stuff that's on HBO currently, but it's not going to be for much longer.
See, that's actually, and I don't go on their app very often. I just use it mostly as a channel, but it is kind of a bummer when you want to, they're like, oh, they've been showing this lately and you want to find it and then it's gone. So I do sort of appreciate them having a section that's like, this is going away.
Going
if you
soon.
want to watch it. Yeah.
They have new Looney Tunes cartoons, which is pretty cool.
I read about that. I haven't seen anything though.
That's fun. I did watch a couple of those, and then it's a lot of TBD stuff. I mean, the big selling point obviously is Friends and right. Fresh Prince, this is the first time it's on a streaming service like this.
Oh, interesting. Isn't that funny? A show that's like, like 30 years old or something, but it's like a big selling point.
It's a big selling point. I don't know what I think as time goes by, they're going to add more stuff to the verticals. They have a DC section, they have a Looney Tunes section, they have a Cartoon Network section, but it's going to be $15 a month. So again, if you're listening to this and you've been wanting the Snyder Cut, well, that the cost of admission is you got to pay. You got to subscribe, You got to make it worth their while, because $50 million they're going to potentially drop on this thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it does start a precedent. I mean, not that this hasn't happened before. We talked about the Donner Cut, but I mean, this is a huge precedent to drop that much money on this request from a hashtag.
Brian, but
right?
here's one thought, though. When you think about it, let's say it is 50 million. Let's even say it's 60 million. That amount of money, everything up to this point is like sunk cost already. So it's like they're spending $50 million for a brand new series. Right? So when you weigh those costs, because whatever's been spent, that's already been spent and written off and everything else.
Right.
So this is the equivalent of like producing a season of a TV show.
Right.
Which isn't,
When Game of Thrones, I know cost like over $100 million. I think,
exactly.
Like a season. So yeah,
because the actors
it's
all been
absolutely smart. I mean, it's good
it is.
business. I just mean it's sort of unprecedented to take a film and then to spend that much money on it.
Yeah,
to bring it
and
something back from the dead, so to speak.
And Twitter is not real life. Which we don't need to be reminded of. But, 10 years ago, you and I watched the test screening of a movie called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yes.
Which, if you got online, it was going to be the greatest movie of all time.
Dude, and I saw it one night and thought it was so amazing at a test screening that I went to a second test screening with Zachy and Sean because I was like, you got to see this. And
it was really good. I mean, it is a really good movie. But when it came to theaters, it completely died on the vine.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly.
Yeah, which, I mean, and I don't know if you remember, I can't remember which screening it was because I went twice, but I remember the audience was just like electric.
Yeah.
Like everybody loved what they just saw. So, yeah.
So always helpful to realize, social media does not necessarily reflect reality. So this will be a very interesting test case.
Yeah.
What next,
Yeah.
So that's,
can I ask you a question? It's a little unrelated, but kind of related.
Yes.
I just recently saw that there is a Spider-Man 3 editor's cut.
Yes.
What does that mean? An editor's cut?
So the version that made it to theaters was heavily studio influenced.
Okay.
So by editor's cut, that's the version that Raimi present. I don't know why they don't call it the director's cut.
So maybe it doesn't have his stamp of approval per se, but it's a way for them to say this was pre-studio interview.
Yeah, I think it's the equivalent of the Alien 3 assembly cut.
I see.
Right, because Alien 3, which is David Fincher's first movie, he wants nothing to do with it. He looks at Alien 3 like David Lynch looks at Dune, right?
Right.
He's like, I don't want anything to do with it. So the best they could do with that is reconstruct it based on his original notes.
I see.
They can't technically call it the David Fincher director's cut. So I think this is a comparable situation.
Okay. Yeah.
I believe I own the Spider-Man 3 editor's cut.
Yeah, it came across my TV screen at some point or something or other, and I was like, I didn't even know it existed, and I was like, wait, whoa, what's this?
Yeah, it's. I think it's. Let me check. Actually, I think it's in my Voodoo.
Yeah, just related to this.
I do own it. Yeah. So I actually have not watched it, but I've read about it, and there's certain differences, like certain scenes and certain, it's different. I don't know that it's better. Because I think Spider-Man 3 had bigger problems Spider-Man 3 had problems in the story construction phase that
right.
You can only
have the puzzle pieces
that's
available
exactly
to you.
Yeah. But kind of the same thing, I mean, it does drive me a little crazy when you hire a filmmaker and then you just get all up in his shit. Like if Sam Raimi, his experience on Spider-Man 3 is extra baffling because he made 2 of the most successful movies ever up to that point.
Right.
Spider-Man 1 and 2. And you're not going to just let him make his movie?
Right.
But this is how the studios do it, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, any other thoughts on this, the Snyder Cut? So that's the TLDR. The Snyder Cut is coming, and we said all along that it would. So there.
And we'll be talking about it here for sure whenever it drops.
There you
in
go.
2021, I believe.
2021, yeah. We'll and you know what we may end up doing in the lead up to that? We may do a commentary track, Brian, for a certain.
Oh, see, that would be interesting. Maybe even somewhat close to whenever it's going to drop, just to get it back in our brains, kind of fresh. And
I would be.
Yeah.
I would be not at all against that.
No, me neither. I don't think I've seen it since the theater. So
that's the funny thing, because I got tagged as a Snyder hater, right? And I'm like, I spent 2.5 hours talking through Man of Steel, and I can assure you, I was not shitting all over it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember that commentary track.
Oh, absolutely. I remember we were both like, this is a great movie that just needs to, have like 15, 20 minutes taken out of it.
It's
and I don't mean, I didn't even mean that as a backhanded compliment. I just really mean that. Like, it gets excessive at the end, but like, had that been taken away, I think, some of that action might have been more impactful, but I really mean that as like a constructive criticism, because otherwise I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah. The maybe the last 15 minutes was like super destructo, just smashy. That was maybe one step
pummeling.
too far. But I mean, the rest of the movie was, and I pointed it out throughout. I'm like, oh, that right there is a reference to this in the comics, and in the comics this guy does this, and his name is this, and I don't know if you remember that. We were just going through.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I remember this is like the the one joke I wanted to make at the end of that commentary, and I lost my nerve, was at the very end of the movie, when Clark Kent comes to work at the planet, and Lois Lane comes up to him, and she's like, "Hey, I'm Lois Lane. Welcome to the planet." And the whole movie I'd been like, "Oh, see, that's a reference to comics. In the comics, this happens." And I wanted to be like, "See, Brian, in the comics, the planet is her nickname for her vagina."
I actually remember you saying that to me off mic afterwards. Just because you had said that the whole way through. Well, see, in the comics, this is a reference to this.
I was going to say that at the very end, and I lost my nerve.
We miss 100% of the shots we don't take.
I know. Now it's out there. I'm just going to, I'm going to leave on a high note.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 201 of the show. We went a little bit longer than I had expected. And for those of you listening right now outside this door, 5 of my kids are just going at it like Battle Royale. It is Thunderdome outside this door, and yet I'm here on mic talking to Brian. That's the kind of dedication I have.
I wish you well as you re-enter into the living room.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what state these children will be in. They're gonna have.
Who will be the leader?
They're gonna have like cartoon slings and like bandages over their heads. I don't know.
Yeah, they're gonna have like hand-shaped, paint prints on their faces, like the Order of the Hand is now,
So we'll see. So Brian, you're not gonna believe this.
What?
This is really kind of bananas.
Okay.
Literally, as we are talking about this whole DC universe thing, as we are talking about Zack Snyder coming back to finish the movie, as we are reminiscing fondly about Man of Steel,
Yeah.
you will not believe the news that is breaking as I am saying this.
What is it?
This is courtesy of what site am I looking at? The Wrap.
Okay.
The Wrap has a headline: Henry Cavill in talks to return as Superman for Warner Brothers.
Okay, so where we last left off, was it actually we're letting him go? I remember there was like a video that Cavill put out, and everyone was like, "No, he's great. Like, what's going on?" Well, where had that been left off? I actually don't remember.
As of not this past fall, the previous fall, so fall of 18.
Wow. Okay.
It was left at, we're not doing any Superman stuff for the time being, so just kind of there was no there's no renegotiation going on with Henry Cavill because it's like we're not doing anything.
I see.
And Henry Cavill has consistently played coy. He's never been like, all right, well, peace out. He's like,
right.
The cape is still in my closet.
Right.
So who knows? And that's something we talked about at the time, that, it could be a little bit of negotiation going on. He's not shutting the door. And we said before, his representation is Danny Garcia, who is Dwayne Johnson's ex-wife. And she is also Dwayne Johnson's current manager. And I've said to you a few times, I think she's doing a little hardball, and I think she was trying to position him to get like Dwayne Johnson level paydays, which I think may have been shooting the moon a little bit, right?
Sure.
However, the interesting thing, I'm looking at this, and by the way, this all comes in the context of all this Snyder Cut announcement happened during the course of a watch along that Zack Snyder did of Man of Steel.
Right.
And he brought Henry Cavill on with him, and they announced it essentially together, which is how it all broke, right? So it seems like things have been breaking in that direction anyway, and I would assume part of this also is that Henry Cavill is getting a lot of praise for, being the lead character on The Witcher.
Okay.
Right? So I have a feeling part of it was Warner Brothers being like, we should get this guy back in the fold.
Right. And I mean, people like him as Superman, right? So why it's hard enough to find, right, your next Bond, your next Superman, your next whatever. If you have him, like, let's go.
And especially because he loves playing the role.
Right. Yeah, we got Daniel Craig ready to kill himself, paraphrasing, but basically then play Bond again, and you've got, him excited and eager to go. Like, I mean, like we just said, we like Man of Steel. I'm totally ready for some more Cavill Superman.
So this is, I'm reading another story at Deadline, and it says, Warner Brothers is not developing a Man of Steel sequel, and Wonder Woman 1984 and Suicide Squad are in the can, and Superman isn't expected to make a cameo in Matt Reeves' The Batman. Other projects where Cavill could make a cameo are Shazam 2, Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam, or Aquaman 2. Which are the next productions to be prepped once COVID-19 safety restrictions lift. So it looks like they want to get him under contract and get him in something so people know he's out there still. If I were to guess, I think I said this before on the show, I think that Black Adam feels like a pretty likely eventuality.
Sure. And you got the Dwayne Johnson connection there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the reason I say that is because Dwayne Johnson has said he wants to be able to fight Superman on screen.
Oh.
Right?
Is he going to be okay losing?
Oh, that's the question. Maybe he won't lose. Maybe maybe they fight to a draw.
Right.
Maybe they destroy the part of Metropolis that didn't get they just finished the job,
Yeah, you have like some cleanup guy in overalls and a big mustache and like a train conductor looking hat, with his push broom. Like they're all done. And then like they rumble through there again.
And then Lois Lane comes in and she tells Black Adam, "Welcome to the planet."
Right. And then Henry Cavill looks at the camera and goes, "Huh?" I hope someone's listening right now because that is our pitch.
That's our pitch. Give us the Black Adam v Superman movie. You know what's doubly weird about all this, by the way, is like 2 days ago, finally in the mail arrived my Hot Toys Henry Cavill Superman from Justice League.
Oh, this is like all coming together.
It's weird. And now bear in mind, I pre-ordered this thing beginning of 2018.
So how do they typically take that long, or that's a long time?
I believe I know nothing about how these toys are made, but I'm assuming it's sort of like how Lex Luthor made the Nuclear Man in Superman 4. They actually use Henry Cavill's DNA, and they grow the doll, shoot it into the sun, and then it flies out with the costume and stuff. I'm assuming that's what took so long. I don't know. I have no idea. Why?
I'm just like thinking how impatient, like if I order like a switchblade comb off of Amazon, because I think that'd be funny for a second, and then I have to wait like 3 days due to Prime. Like, I'm already like staring at my mailbox. Like, how do you wait 2 years?
What's
really
funny
hard.
about this? Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, that was the very first Hot Toys I ever purchased. I was like, a lot of people talk about these Hot Toys things. They seem quite a bit more expensive than I want to pay. But this, I'm gonna make an exception for this one thing here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And I placed my pre-order. And between the time I pre-ordered it and it arrived, I think I've gotten like 20 more.
Oh, really?
So between pre-order and receipt of my very first Hot Toys, I've filled up the garage.
Oh, interesting. So the others were ready to go.
Yeah, a lot of stuff was already out there.
I see.
A lot of stuff was already out there, and then other stuff, it just came quicker.
I feel like I saw a couple of those in your garage when
Yes.
last I was up there, and that was pretty cool. They look incredible in person.
They sort of ruin you for any other like action figure collectibles.
Right.
So that there is that. But I think the timing of the figure's arrival is very serendipitous because everything's coming up. DC.
Cavill?
Everything's coming up
That's
there.
right. DC.
So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Well,
I would not be surprised, Brian, if Henry Cavill ends up replacing Ruby Rose as Batwoman,
hey, why not?
just to make it a hat trick.
Right. I'm ready. I'm ready for some more Superman for sure.
And by the way, Superman is also coming to television because they have the television series on the CW that's coming. I believe it's going to be beginning of 2021.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, it's
and
called-
he's appeared on other shows,
That's
and now
correct.
he's getting his own show.
Yes, he's played by Tyler Hoechlin of well, I don't know. He's the little kid in
The Hecklin.
of the Chicago
Magnates?
Hecklins. Yes, he played Tom Hanks' son in Road to Perdition. If you've seen that,
No joke.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So he is the new Superman in this series. It's called Superman and Lois.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they're doing all kinds of stuff. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But where this goes next, I guess we will find out soon enough. Until then, let's go ahead and put a pin in this episode.
All right.
But we will be back next week, Brian,
Yes.
with a commentary track for RoboCop 2.
Oh man.
This has been a multi-requested film, and I'm actually very excited for this because you have never seen it.
Never.
However, the entry point for you would, I would assume, be the fact that it's directed by Irvin Kershner.
That is very interesting. Director of Empire Strikes Back. I don't know that I've ever seen another film directed by him.
See? So I think I, as a huge RoboCop fan, and I've seen this movie multiple times, and you as somebody who's never seen it, I think this could lead to something interesting. So that's going to be our next commentary coming soon. And, of course, we'll be back in 2 weeks with our next regular episode. In the meantime, if you're looking for Brian, you can find him.
Still writing for Puppy Dog Pals, which is new episodes even debuting this week. And it's on Disney, Disney Junior, and Disney+.
And as for me, you can find me at my website, ZackisCorner.com. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my Twitter. That's also my Instagram, so you can find me there. If you have any questions or comments for us, please, you can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also message us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast. As always, please go to iTunes and leave a review, leave a star rating, let people know what you think of what we're doing. And if you have any commentary track requests, please keep those coming because we get them regularly. And as you know, we do follow through on those, so we'd love to get your suggestions on that. And with that, on behalf of my partner Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 201. We will catch you next time.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.